great to be with you and great to make the announcement on your show.
Congressman Adam Schiff launching his campaign here on The Issue Is in January. Since then, he's been busy raising a lot of money. In the first quarter, he raised more money than any other Senate candidate in the entire country in any race ever, with $6.5 million raised. Katie Porter with $4.5 million raised. Barbara Lee with $1.4 million raised. Congressman Adam Schiff here in our newsroom this weekend. Congressman, great to see you. Welcome back to The Issue Is.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Clearly, a lot of people must have been watching our opening show to give you all that money.
A lot of people watch every one of your shows, but particularly that one. What's so encouraging about it is that amount of support came from over 100,000 contribution, tens of thousands of people up and down the state, the vast majority grassroots donors. That's a wonderful show of support. Every county in California participated in supporting our campaign.
Of course, Katie Porter has talked about the fact that she doesn't accept any money from corporate PACs and lobbyists. What about you?
We're also not accepting support from corporate PACs. All of this money has come from individuals and non-corporate entities, and as a result,
what about lobbyists?
We haven't written off all individuals. We consulted with End Citizens United, which is sort of the gold standard. We're abiding by their requirements. But of course, there are people who represent teachers and represent cafeteria workers and others. We don't want to exclude them. But the vast majority of our support, really the overwhelming support, is coming from small dollar checks sent in by people or small dollar contributions online. People who want the economy addressed because the economy is simply not working for millions of people. I participated in a strike, as you know, because you covered it, with LA Unified. They were paying cafeteria workers and nurse aides $25,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make the economy work for everyone.
It seems like with that move and with other moves, it seems like there's a battle to see who could be the most progressive among the three of you. Is being a moderate a bad word?
I think we're all progressives in this race by any measure. The real question, I think, for voters will ultimately be who's able to make the most progress. You really can't be progressive unless you're willing to work with others to bring about a consensus, to attack homelessness, to attack public safety issues, to make sure that the economy is working for everyone. And I think the reason why, in addition to that level of financial support, now more than half of the California members of Congress, over 150 elected officials up and down the state, including Speaker Pelosi, have endorsed my campaign because they're looking for someone in the Senate that will work to bring about a consensus and actually get things done on homelessness, on affordability, and other issues.
Would you call yourself a moderate?
I would call myself a progressive, and I think if you look at our voting records as measured by sort of government rating agencies or nonprofits, we're all rated as progressive.
Is there something that you would vote for that they wouldn't vote for?
Honestly, I think you're going to have a hard time distinguishing us on our votes. Where you are going to be able to distinguish us is I have a track record of delivering for my constituents, bringing home millions to deal with homelessness, building an early earthquake warning system throughout California and the West. So the question is more, who's the progressive that has a record of actually getting things done and developing that kind of consensus?
All right, I want to ask you and start a series we're going to call the 4 questions, and this has nothing to do with Passover, okay? These are 4 questions, quick, first thing that comes to mind when you hear it, maybe 1 or 2 word answers. What is the biggest issue domestically?
I think homelessness and the affordability of housing.
Biggest issue internationally?
The war in Ukraine and climate.
Senate committee that you would most like to serve on?
Wow, well, I would need to think more on that, but I want to principally address these economic disparities, so the committees that would be responsible for helping to ensure the economy is delivering for all Americans.
And modern senator that you respect the most?
Well, I have a lot of respect for Doug Jones, who was defeated for his reelection, but represented a very red state, demonstrated a lot of courage.
Alabama.
Alabama, both in his willingness to take on Trump in a very red state, but also his civil rights leadership in the past. John Lewis in the House, but I would point to Doug Jones in the Senate.
There's no Republican that's in the race yet. We spoke to Kevin McCarthy about that this week. He said he wasn't ready to endorse you, surprisingly. Right now, you've got Adam Schiff, Katie Porter, and Barbara Lee. Do you have a favorite in that race?
None of those are. I think a Republican could win.
Do you think a Republican can win?
I don't think so. Certainly not a Republican, the likes of which the Republican Party in California has produced in a long time. Not because a Republican, someone registered Republican couldn't win. I think someone registered Republican could win in California and has won in any number of elections in the past. But the party here has moved so far to the right in its embrace of the former president that they have made themselves a dinosaur, made themselves non-competitive.
So if that's true, and if it ends up being Democrat versus Democrat in the general election, what's your message to Republicans who may be the swing votes? Because a lot of them say, you're a Trump-hating liar.
That's what Kevin McCarthy says. I don't think a lot of them say that, except those that are listening to the most right-wing stations, an echo chamber. Because that's sadly a talking point among the right wing. No, I think moderate Republicans who are interested in actually moving the state forward, getting things done, Republicans that are interested in dealing with public safety concerns and homelessness concerns, very much like Democrats. They're looking for someone that can get things done.
Let's also talk about a big headline this week, the Trump arraignment. Obviously, you have been at odds with him for a long time. For you, when you actually saw that image of him sitting in a courtroom, somewhat somber, what went through your mind?
Well, it's a sad day for the country that a president of the United States sits at the defense table. But I do think it's also an affirmation of the principle that the rule of law needs to apply to everyone.
When we come back, we're going to talk with Congressman Schiff about his family and how they've shaped him. Stay with us. You're watching The Issue Is.
None of this would be possible without her. None of it would be enjoyable without her.
That's a clip of Congressman Adam Schiff talking about his wife, Eve, on a previous edition of The Issue Is. Congressman Schiff is with us in our newsroom. Next week, we have Katie Porter coming in here to talk about her memoir, which is really a lot of the backstory of her life. And so I thought it'd be interesting to talk about the backstory of your life by talking about some of the people that have shaped you the most. So let's start with your wife, Eve. Yes, it is Adam and Eve together. And talk about how she has changed you and maybe some of the most important lessons you've learned from her.
First of all, we met here in Los Angeles. We met on a tennis court. She had a wicked good double backhand, and I said, I've got to marry that woman. I like to say that she only went out with me as a curiosity so she could say that she dated someone named Adam.
Yeah.
But, it would be hard to measure the ways that she has changed me. There are so many things that I admire and I'm grateful to her about. For her love more than anything else, and for helping raise two wonderful children. I'm really fortunate. She's an incredibly strong person. We've been through a lot in the last several years. The attacks that you mentioned, the constant sort of MAGA extreme attacks on me personally have also attacked my family. They've resulted in death threats. Not every spouse, I think, could cope with that.
Sure. We talked about Adam Schiff, the husband. Let's talk about Adam Schiff, the son. What's the most important thing your dad's taught you?
Wow. Well, I was just on the phone with my father today. He is 95.
Yeah.
He taught my brother and me to leave the world a better place than we inherited. He taught us the difference between right and wrong. And I remember also when I was a kid, he said something that he has no recollection of ever saying, which I thought was a wonderful thing for a father to tell his son. As I was just beginning to think about what I wanted to do with my life, he said, if you're good at what you do, there will always be a demand for you.
You talked about the fact that you're an empty nester now. You've got two kids. What's the big takeaway from them?
Well, they keep me grounded. I'll tell you a story you appreciate. I was walking with my daughter in New York, and people were stopping me on the sidewalk to say hello and take pictures. And I was in blue jeans and a canvas jacket and wearing sunglasses. I was surprised I was even getting recognized. And at some point, someone asked Alexa to hold their beer while we took a photograph. And after we did, as we're walking away, my daughter complained that she was now relegated to being the beer holder in the family. And I said, Alexa, I'm just surprised that anybody can even recognize me.
Yeah.
And without missing a beat, she says, well, Dad, it's the pencil neck. She went right to one of Trump's insults.
Trump's lines, yeah.
And,
only a kid can do that, right?
Your kids keep you grounded.
One of the things that he talked about with us previously is that he's actually a comedian on the side. So I've got a surprise for him from one of my favorite comedians when we come back.
This is a message for Adam Schiff, little Adam Schiff.
I love to joke around. I do an annual comedy night for my campaign where I actually do stand up. I know that's very hard to believe. And among my favorite films, The Big Lebowski.
That is a clip of Adam Schiff the last time he was on The Issue Is, talking about his experience as a comedian. Some people don't think of you necessarily as a stand-up comedian, but you like to do stand-up, right? And you've done some writing in the past, right?
I do. We do an annual event for my campaign this year at the Improv. And because people see me on television, it's always talking about very serious things. It's hard for them to imagine me, talking comedy, being funny, but I so enjoy it.
What's your routine? Like, what's your shtick?
It's pretty basic, I have to say. I will tell a few jokes. I'll do a top 10. I often write my material on the plane on the way out to California to do the event, so it's kind of a high-wire act. But it goes over pretty well, I have to say.
Yeah, well, I know you met recently one of my friends who I think may be working with you at some point on this comedy night as well. His name is Matt Friend. He does 250 impressions. And he sent me a video to play for you, a special message for The Issue Is. So I'm going to show this to you now. You watch it here and then get your reaction.
This is a message for Adam Schiff, little Adam Schiff, who is running for the Senate seat in California. And a lot of people are saying Schiff is as corrupt as Alvin Braggadocious. Stormy Daniels, no hush. Even Mitch has something to say.
Listen, what you have to realize is, Mr. Schiff, if you would like to join me in the Senate, grow a few more chins, DeSantis.
So I have to say as well to Adam Schiff, you called me corrupt. You said my reaction to the Trump indictment was weak. Florida is a strong state. It's where woke goes to die, unlike California. Adam Schiff, great to see you on The Issue Is. I'm Matt Friend. All right.
That is outstanding.
Yeah, that's pretty good, right? I think
fantastic.
you guys need to do some sort of road show together.
I think we do. I think we do.
Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. It's been 5 years since our first show this month. You were here for our very first show, and I know your favorite movie of all time is what?
It's The Big Lebowski, and if I can share with you one quick anecdote. During the speakership fight, when Matt Gaetz was tearing into Kevin McCarthy, one of my staff sent me one of my favorite lines from the movie.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole.
Okay, then.
Okay. We are going to end with another great line, the line. What is the line?
The dude abides.
All right.
Well, I'm hoping next year you'll be able to say the senator abides.
Okay. So we end this week with Jeff Bridges. Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you so much. Great to see you.
Great to see you.
Appreciate it. Take it away.
The dude abides.
The dude abides.